Hello everyone, welcome to the Jayda InStitches show, and welcome to a little yarn nerd activity. I'm gonna nerd out in the yarn department today. If one of your intentions this year, your goals, your New Year's resolutions, whatever it might be, whatever you want to call it, if one of your intentions this year is to bring a little more organization to your crafting stash, then today let's tackle the yarn. If that is your intention for this year, then grab yourself a hot cup of something, or cool if you're in a cooler climate. Stuff yourself into the middle of your yarn stash. Grab some Ziploc bags. Big ones are nice. A few little ones are probably a good idea too. And maybe a couple of Sharpies, something you can mark on the bag with. You can also use masking tape and sort of like a pen and just write on the masking tape and put the tape on the bag if you want to peel the tape off and reuse the bag for something else later. I don't know how much of this bag action you're gonna need, but however you want to use your Ziploc bags. These really are great for sorting small things. And because I've got a big project coming this year, it's the calendar unblanket project, and if you're not sure what an unblanket project is or what we might be planning, we'll link the video to that announcement in our description box down below. So if you're interested in a calendar unblanket project with me this year, you can check that out. I am going to be sorting a whole lot of my scraps into color coordinated bags for that project, but I've also done this before for just any old project. It's sometimes easy to allow all those little bits of yarn, the tail ends of a skein, maybe a slightly rolled ball of yarn. They kind of accumulate, they start out neat and tidy, maybe in a bin, maybe in a tote, maybe you even have them color coordinated and fiber organized. But then as the year goes on, or possibly the years, depending on how busy you are, it can get to be kind of a mess. So for example, I've got like just this ton. I have a lot here. That's me picking up 2 handfuls of it. I have another bin of it. It's all kind of starting to fall out over here. I've got dark colors, I've got light colors, and none of these are brand new balls of yarn. None of them are really earmarked for anything in particular. So what I want to do is sort them all out by color today and put them into Ziploc bags, which I can then squeeze the air out of, zipper tight, and literally file them on a shelf like I would a bunch of books. I do this for small appliques, I do this for small toys or coasters, flat things that I'm not going to be using for a while. I will put them in Ziploc bags, squeeze the air out of it, zip the bag shut, and then file them on a shelf like a bunch of books. And I have a cupboard full of them. It's a nice way to keep a whole lot of things, not just yarn, especially craft supplies. And, you know, bonus, not only can you write on it if you need to, for example, if you sort by fiber, which might be a good idea, if you have projects coming that you know you want cotton for, you can put all your cotton in a bag and put cotton scraps. If they're maybe wool, whatever the case may be, it may be good to indicate the fiber on that bag if fiber is important for the project. Typically it is. I usually say use all one fiber for a project only because when it comes to washing and maintenance, it's better to just be dealing with one fiber's requirements. For my unblanket project this year, fiber isn't as important because I know it's not something that I have to worry about washing frequently. That said, you can mix your fiber for projects. You just have to treat the entire project as the most delicate fiber that may be contained within it. So for example, if you have wool mixed in, 100% wool, I don't mean like a wool blend, like 100% wool mixed in with acrylics and cottons and whatnot, you have to treat the whole project like it's made of wool and wash it accordingly. That way you're less likely to have shrinking, stretching, pilling issues. And if you're ever really concerned about the outcome of washing of a project or any kind of knit or crochet thing, just hand wash it. Hand wash it in cool water with just a little bit of soap. You don't usually need much. And then, you know, squeeze it. Never wring, never stretch, just squeeze. And then empty the sink, refill it with cool water, and do the same thing. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So cool water, hand wash, and then lay flat to dry. That's what I recommend if you're ever concerned about how to wash something. But let's get back to the yarn nerding out. All right, I've got you sort of looking top down at my little makeshift table in front of me here. This is just a sort of a sampling of all of the crazy scraps I've got. I've got a few little bags, but mostly I've got a stack of the bigger bags because I have a lot of yarn. But the little bags are really great for sort of super small scraps or very specific scraps. So like maybe if you've got like really pretty little tweedy bits of yarn that you're not sure what to do with. I do know what to do with that. Or, you know, maybe you've got something with a bit of like sheen or tinsel in it, or just, you know, maybe a textured yarn that you're not sure what to do with, like this ribbony stuff. If there's anything sort of specific, but you don't have a lot of it, then you can use the little bags for that. But mostly I think I'm going to use the big bags. And like I said, if you are concerned about mixing fibers, then you will only stick to sorting fibers of the same type into these bags. But for me, this year, I don't need to worry about fiber content. And to be fair, pretty much all of the scraps that I have here are 100% acrylic or an acrylic cotton blend. This is 100% cotton. Well, actually it's not. It's the yarn part is cotton, but there's like a little tinsely bit that runs through it. That's obviously not cotton. But because I'm not too worried about mixing cotton and acrylic together, that's going to go into my sort of stash supply. And as I go, I'll probably be finding larger balls of yarn that still are not totally complete balls of yarn, but that I just sort of want to keep neat and tidy in these bags. Another thing I noticed too is that despite my best intentions to sort of roll up a ball of yarn, even if I spin it into a small cake, when I use a little bit of it, the thing deflates, and if I'm lazy and I don't want to get around to respinning it into a cake, well, it ends up looking like this. And so, you know, I'll grab the ends, I'll just, you know, wrap them around it because I'm kind of feeling lazy, and then the whole thing will unwind on me if it's in a large container where it can move around a bit. So another reason I like these Ziploc bags, sort of squeeze the air out, zipper it shut concept, is that it doesn't give it any opportunity to move around. So I'm just going to start by grabbing all of the little red bits and the orange bits that I've got, and I'm going to put them into these bags. So orange for me is dark orange, this sort of little bit of, it's almost, that orange is a little on the coral side, so but that's considered orange. And I'm just going to stuff them all into this bag. I'm going to get one going for yellow. I'm going to get one going for pretty much every color I've got. I'm going to keep my black in one bag and my white and gray probably together in another bag, just because I don't have a lot of it. And it's really handy because I can actually see through the bag. So I just grab anything that's yellow. If it's a real mess, I might just sort of sit here and, you know, pull it apart and spin it back into a quick little ball, just to try and keep some semblance of tidiness going. Like I said, this yarn pile in front of me really is the leftover bits and pieces of everything that I've been using for like the last couple of years. I just sort of finish off a ball or half finish a ball, and I just stuff what's left of it into this sort of little open rubber basket that I've got. And I usually keep it nearby because I use those little bits of yarn for all sorts of little projects. But it's getting out of control, and I want to have all of the right colors. So if I want yellow for something, I'll be able to grab this bag. If I want red for something, I'll be able to grab this bag. I have another sort of partially opened ball of yarn. I'm just going to shove that right in there with the rest of the red. And this just keeps everything a lot more organized. In the event that you've got a ball of yarn that's a couple of colors, like this orange and white, I would classify this as orange just because it's got orange in it, and the white kind of acts as a neutral. So that's going to go in my orange container. If you have a lot of pink, I would put the pinks in its own bag. If you have a little bit of pink, they can go in with the red. And I'm going to keep my pink with my red for now, just because I don't really think I have a whole lot of pink. Look, see, this is what I'm talking about. These are these tiny little bits and pieces that you might even think, oh, you know, why am I even keeping this? I'll just stuff it in my bag for stuffing, because I do put a lot of scrap yarn in a bag and set it aside to use as stuffing for amigurumi. But in the case of my unblanket project this year, every little tiny scrap will be useful. So I'm going to keep them all neat and orderly in these bags. And no scrap is too small. They will all have a use. I'm going to try and find, so this one here, this one's got a lot of colors going in it, but when I stare at this largely says green to me, so this will go in my green bag. But if you've got like a variegated yarn that's kind of all the colors, you can have another separate bag for variegated yarns that are all kinds of color. But typically I will look at a ball of yarn and say, okay, what's the most overriding color? What's the most, what color shows up the most to me in that? And for me, that's a green. So that's going to go in my green package. When you get to a color that could be either or, aqua and turquoise do that to me sometimes. Turquoise to me is a little bit more green, aqua is a little bit more blue, but they both have blue-green in them. So that really comes down to, you know, how much of that color do you have? Does it warrant having its own bag? If you have a lot of turquoises and aquas, maybe they can go their own bag. Otherwise, look at it and ask yourself, does that say more green to me or more blue to me? And to be fair, these both have a lot of green in them, but they say more blue to me, I feel, than green. So they're going to go in my blue bag. I also tend to save little scraps of things that I try. So I was practicing some of my knitting cables, and I've had this sort of little scrap test lying around for quite a while. I had it in my scrap bag because I originally thought, oh, I'll just use that as stuffing for something down the road. But you know what? I'm done with it. I could probably use this yarn for something else this year. So I'm just gonna unravel the whole thing and rewind it as I go. There is something so satisfying about unraveling something that you no longer need, knowing that you're going to be able to use the yarn for something else. So there we go. I don't even have to worry about the little bit of kink that's in that yarn, because that will come out if I'm crocheting with it. And now I've got some light blue back in my stash, and I still know how to do the cables. I didn't really need to keep it. I just didn't know what to do with it. So doing a little bit of yarn sorting also forces me to kind of clean up my previous messes. That's blue and white, but I would definitely classify that as blue. And here's another little bit of blue. I've got a blue-green. That's a tricky one. That is a tricky one. I think there's more green in that than blue, so I'll put that in with the green. And so on. This is basically what I do to sort of get everything color coordinated. I fill those bags up with colors, and then I'll show you what I do with them when they're all filled up. All right, I have sorted all of my little bits and scraps out of the bin. So the bin is now nice and empty, as you can see, and that giant little pile of whatever the heck it all was is gone. Now all that's left to do is to squeeze all the air out of these bags and zip them up nice and tight. Now it turned out that I had a lot less yellow than I thought, so I switched the yellow to this bag, and I put the pink and the purple together. But I'll explain all that in a moment. Let me show you how to get the air out of these things. Take the bag and flatten all of the yarn that's in it as best you possibly can, and zip half of it. And then as you continue to zip, press the air out of it. This is definitely a two-hand, maybe a knee and a hand, or a two-hand and a knee job, but it gets all the air out, and it's kind of like your own little vacuum sealing. And it makes it nice and flat, it doesn't hurt the yarn, and you can store it vertically in a shelf. I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of my bags of yarn, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go through this color sorting process, a little bit of a synopsis. go. I've got my gray, my black, brown. I had a lot less pink and purple than I thought, so I just stuffed it all into the single bag there. I had a surprising amount of blue, so I basically split that in half, light blues, dark blues, and then my green, my yellow, my orange, and my red. And that takes care of all the little tiny scraps that have been piling up in that bin and around the rest of the craft room. This was such a good exercise. I have sorted all of my little bits of yarn. They are color coordinated now in their little bags. The bags are vacuum sealed for the pretend vacuum sealed anyway. More importantly, they're all going to fit neatly on a shelf vertically. They're going to take up a whole lot less space than they did. They're not going to unravel on me. And when I need a specific little bit of color for upcoming projects, I can easily go grab the bag that the color is in that I need, and I can sort through it easy. I may not even have to open it. I can just sort of be like, oh, there it is, open it up, grab the color, and squeeze the air back out of it and put it away again without thinking about it. This is a game changer for me this year. I haven't done this kind of sorting in a while. I've been mostly kind of putting finished projects in Ziploc bags, but I'm back to the yarn in a bag project or sort experience this year because I need to be able to access all those little colors. I love having them available to me, but the bin just got too full. I had a bag full of scraps. I had the bin going. I had little balls of them running around on the table. It was getting out of control, and I didn't know where anything was. And I don't want to just open up a whole new ball of yarn for like a little bit if I've got a little bit of the right color or a similar color that I might need for something already in a bag ready to go. So this was great. I took apart a bunch of little projects that needed to be taken apart. I re-rolled some yarn. I unknotted and detangled some yarn, and the whole thing did not take me very long. I probably have been sitting here all together for about an hour and a half, just sorting yarn, re-rolling stuff, making it a little neater and tidier, deciding which bag to put things in. For example, I had this one pretty ball of yarn that is mostly oranges with a bit of white and turquoise thrown in. So I put it in with my orange yarn. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'll need it in an orange situation, but it might suit. It's just that it's got more orange in it, so that's where I put it. Because I didn't have enough variegated scraps lying around to really warrant putting them in their own bag. So that is that. This was great. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of sorting, organizing, a little bit of nerding out, and maybe if you are inclined to do the exact same thing, you'll let me know how it goes for you. Or if you like something other than the Ziploc bag effect, or if you have bigger scraps or smaller scraps, do you have a tidy up and organized way of dealing with that right now? This is great for me. I wanted to show you what I was doing in my process, and hopefully it'll inspire you. You know what I just realized? I could even just keep them all in this bin because they all stack so neatly. And then I've got the bin still in use. I've got all of my yarn handy. I just might do this. Not bad, not bad. I can still see what I need. The bags are squishy. Doesn't that sound good? Can I get them all in? Oh my gosh, I think I can. All right, I might just keep them all in there. Why not? Also, it keeps the dust off, it keeps the puppy out. I'm feeling pretty great. I am that much closer to being more organized this year than I was by the end of last year. So I hope this has proved to be a little bit of inspiration for you. I hope you are moved to do a little bit of tidying up. And I mean, think of it like this. It just puts you faster to your crochet goals. So if you want to get into a project and you don't want to be, you know, sorting through your yarn or diving into your stash, it's all done. It's done. Take a couple hours, sort it out, put it in bags, mark them if you have to, and it's done. And you're going to feel a whole lot better. I sure do. I feel great. I'm going to go celebrate. I'm going to go crochet. I'll see you guys here soon on the Jayda and Stitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, stay organized, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Hi, everybody. Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.